Welcome to Casey Cares. We're the voice of Kansas City nonprofits, and we share the stories of local nonprofits and the individuals who drive them. At Casey Cares, we connect the nonprofit and the business sectors to enhance the quality of life in Kansas City for both our residents and our visitors. This Casey Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Kansas City's Sammie Magee is a young woman with a really big heart. In 2022, after the unimaginable tragedy at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 teachers lost their lives, Sammie was just 15 years old. Like so many of us, she was heartbroken. But unlike most teens, she felt she could do something, especially for the 11 children in that classroom who survived. What began as a simple act of compassion quickly became something powerful. Sammie created Sammie's Toy Drive, sending toys and comfort to those children when they needed it most. And instead of stopping there, the idea grew. Today, Sammie's Toy Drive is a specialized effort focused on communities impacted by tragedy, delivering joy not only in the immediate aftermath, but later when the headlines fade and support often disappears. It's a beautiful reminder that kindness doesn't have an expiration date and that one young person's heart can make a lasting difference. Sammie joins us today on Casey Cares to share her story and her ongoing journey with her nonprofit. Sammie, welcome to Casey Cares.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, my guess is our audience is going, what? A 15-year-old took something like this on? All right. I know there are more details to share, so I want you to start kind of where you were at that time when this happened.
That is a day I will never forget. I was 15 at the time. It was a Tuesday. All I had planned that day was a shift at my local library, and then I was going to try to learn how to ride a bike that afternoon. But everything changed around noon. I was in my living room. My mom works from home. She was in her office, and she yelled downstairs, "Turn on the TV." And didn't matter what channel you put it on, it was there. And at the time, it just said, like, students injured, I think is what it said. And little did we know at that point, the shooting was still going on for another 50 minutes after that. So we sat there all day, just on the news as the headlines changed, started saying, oh, just one student dead and a teacher dead. And later that day, of course, we learned that it was 19 students and 2 teachers. But one thing I'll never forget that night are 2 faces that I saw on Facebook, actually. It was parents posting, saying, "Have you seen my child?" They were running into houses in the neighborhood. And my friends were sharing that. And I have their pictures back here. And it was these 2 girls, McKenna Lee Elrod and Tess Mata. I've become very close with their families since May 24th. But in the aftermath of Robb and the days after, I couldn't sit there and just let this happen. Shootings are handled in such a sterile way. And especially when they involve children, the children are just moved aside. They're just FBI interviews. They're just a part of an investigation when they just went through the most traumatic thing that they ever could go through. So I wanted to, as a child myself, I wanted to be able to relate to them and try to help them in the way that a child would help a fellow child. So in like the end of June, I started Sammie's Toy Drive. It was originally started to just help the survivors and the siblings of the victims. Very quickly changed. For a year and a half, I worked to connect with the community. I connected with very few Robb families, but just a lot of community members. And in November of 2023, we hosted our first Toy Drive event in Uvalde. So,
where to begin? I do want our audience to know a little bit of your background with Girl Scouts, because that became part of the connection as well.
Yes. So I was a Girl Scout since kindergarten. I'm actually now a Gold Award Girl Scout for my project.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was very driven to start my project because of one of the victims, Amarie Jo Garza, And she's right here. She was a junior Girl Scout when she was killed. She was calling 911, so she earned her Girl Scout Bronze Cross for her heroic actions that day. But I knew I needed to be a Girl Scout sister, and I needed to step up and help her and her friends and continue to share their memories.
So you decide you're going to do a toy drive. I mean, how did this happen? What were your first steps? How did you pull this together and then end up in Uvalde?
I remember just kind of looking at my mom like, what do I do? Like, I want to do something. I can't just sit here and let this happen. I can't make any of this stop, but I need to do something that a 15-year-old can do. And my first thing was a toy drive. So I guess I immediately started on that. My mom was always like my biggest supporter with it, and she still is. So I just started reaching out to local news stations of didn't even have a name for the toy drive at the time. That's kind of why it's Sammy's Toy Drive, because last minute, like the day of my interview, they're like, "What's it called, by the way?" And I'm like, Sammy's Toy Drive. So, but I just kind of started doing news interviews. I built an Amazon wish list that people could purchase things off of. And we just started collecting toys. And we were planning on going to Uvalde in September of 2022. We're going to fill up a U-Haul full of all the toys and just drive down there and hand stuff out. I had no plan, but that was my little bit of a plan. And then that ended up not working out. So I ended up connecting with another nonprofit called Survivors Embracing Each Other. It's run by a girl that she survived the Oxford school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So I became very close with her, and she was going to be hosting an event in Uvalde. And she was like, "Oh, hey, I can hand out all your stuff for you if you just ship it." So shipped it. 2 days before her event, she got bronchitis and she canceled her event.
Oh no.
Yes. So here I am, 900 miles away from all of my toy drive stuff. I walk in my mom's office and I go, "Mom, what do I do? Everything's there. What do we do?" And she goes, "Okay, we'd have to fly into San Antonio, right? Pull up Southwest. Let's look at plane tickets." And that day we bought our plane tickets to San Antonio to go to Uvalde. So it was
and what was that first event like?
Oh my gosh, that whole trip was incredible. So we were only there for a total of 21 hours. Um, I don't think I've ever been that exhausted in my life, but it was incredible. So we left KC at like 5 in the morning, got to Uvalde, and in Uvalde they have kind of the, I guess, I hate to say the big things to visit, but kind of the Rob-centered things to visit. There's the
Right.
school. There's murals of each of the kids and the two teachers around the city. In their plaza, they have crosses, and then there's the cemetery. So we went around and we visited all of those spots. That I've never felt that way in my life. And I don't know if I'll ever feel that way again when we first pulled up to the school. Like, we were there for probably just 30 minutes and I was just on the ground. Because it's something you see on the news so many times and then you're there in front of it. It's an out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we visited the murals, which they're beautiful. Please Google the Uvalde murals. They're incredible. So we visited those, and then we had to go to the library, which I'd been talking to this amazing man, the library director, Mendel Morgan, a lifer in Uvalde. And so he helped us get everything prepared, set up the toy room for us. And then that year, all we had were snow cones and therapy dogs. That was our event, and then the toy room. And we had a piñata, which the kids loved. So we had about 100 kids at that event. And when we were there, all of a sudden I was just standing with my mom and I look over and I saw the family of Alithia Ramirez, which I have her picture right here. And then the family of Jackie Cazares, which I have her picture right here. So I had been talking to Jackie's older sister, Jasmine. She's about a year and a half older than me. And I didn't know that they were coming to the event. So all I remember is I grabbed my mom's arm and I said, "It's Jackie. It's Jackie." So I'm like, was her spirit there? Was she there? And so I just ran over to them, and they're just the sweetest people. They gave me a Jackie wristband, which I have.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an amazing event. It was beautiful. I loved every second of it. I didn't want to leave. I got to meet a lot of the survivors, which now one of them is my family. I love this family so much. So it's just, I love it. And after that, we left Uvalde, and I looked back at the Welcome to Uvalde sign, and I was like, wow, we'll never be back here. I'm so sad. And I was very wrong. We've been back there a lot.
So let's talk about that. You do this one event, it fills your heart, you give to the community. At what point did you go, wait, this could be more? I can be helping, and then create a nonprofit.
I was just like, I looked at my mom and I was like, I can't leave. I need to go back. So we ended up going back in May of 24. So for the 2-year mark of the shooting. At that time, I was also running the KC drive for families affected by the Chiefs Parade shooting.
Mm.
So we went to Uvalde for the vigil. We spent all day at the cemetery with the families, and then the vigil that night. Fun fact about Uvalde, it's an hour away from the Mexico border. So
Mm.
it was 110 degrees that day.
Oh my gosh.
My Kansas body was not ready for that. But yeah, so it was a really neat day. I got to meet some incredible families that I'd been speaking to before. It was really neat. What I love is most of them, they have wristbands. So it's just, here, you want a wristband? You want a wristband? I'm not wearing all my pins today because my mom's like, no, you can't wear all your pins. It looks really bad because they all just give me pins. Like my old Sammy's Toy Drive shirt is all weighed down now from all the pins. So it's I love how that's how they share their kids' spirit through pins and bracelets. And one of them has Pokemon type trading cards with his
Oh
son.
my gosh.
It's really neat. So that's kind of what that day was filled with. And that trip was really hard to leave because I got to meet so many people. It was just amazing. But after that, I was like, yeah, we've got to do another toy drive event. So worked on getting the nonprofit set up. And then we started preparing for the second annual toy drive event, which it was huge. We had bounce houses, therapy dogs, a therapy farm, which is hosted by one of the families, McKenna Elrod's family. And then what else did we have? We had a business did nail polishing and hair tinseling, and all of this is free to the families. They don't have to pay a penny for this. I'm trying to think. We had a bunch of other stuff. Boba tea. We had a lady donated cupcakes and cookies. And then again, we had the big toy room for families to go in and pick up whatever they want. And then we hosted an angel tree that year. So we had a total of 150 kids sign up, and they were able to receive gifts for Christmas. So it was an amazing event.
We're talking with Sammie Magee. She is the founder of Sammie's Toy Drive. Started because of the Uvalde shooting, but has grown now to help support families after the Chiefs shooting. And you've gone and you're doing some things and have supported in the Kerrville area of Texas with their catastrophic flooding. You made it sound so easy that, we just decided to do a nonprofit. Can you walk through a little bit that process? And did you have some help with that? I want you to inspire other young people.
I definitely had some help with it. We have a family friend that does accounting and all that. So he helped me with that, thankfully, because I would not be able to understand any of those forms otherwise. But yeah, so we got that going, which was incredible because that's kind of the first question people ask, oh, are you a 501c3? And now it's I'm able to say, yeah, I did that, we got that far that we're a 501. So we got that all set up. But currently, I have no volunteers. It's just me. So we have people that run like the digital stuff. If we have like a paid staff member that does social media, and then we have a volunteer that does website stuff. But like event planning, it's just me. So young people, you can do it. Don't underestimate yourself. Like you can do anything you put your mind to.
Do you want volunteers? You said you have no volunteers. Now is this opportunity. And what would volunteers be able to do for your organization?
I just need help like with fundraising, outreach, kind of in that way. Just getting like meeting companies and stuff. I need help with grant writing and that kind of stuff. That's where we struggle because I love the community outreach. That's my thing. I love like getting out there and talking to the families. But when it comes to like actually trying to get funds to support the families, that's where I struggle. So somehow we always just end up getting lucky of like a big donation comes up and it's like, okay, I feel like some magic happened. I feel like they intervened and wanted that to happen so we could keep going.
You're a college student. Tell us about how you're balancing all of this kind of stuff.
Um, Taking advantage of winter break for sure. Yeah, I was really planning on like really working on the Uvalde event over winter break. We're a year away, but that's no time in my mind. So I was planning on working on that. And then we had to start another toy drive because in Lynn County, a young boy, Aaron Andula, he was killed by his neighbor's dogs right before Christmas. So we're doing a toy drive for his family. So that kind of took up most of my break. But here I'm in the last week of break. So now I'm working on Uvalde a lot. But it's kind of nice. The toy drive is kind of at that point where I just kind of call it like housekeeping kind of stuff of like, I just need to put in like an hour of work a day. And it's just like kind of reach out to people, do kind of like just tie up loose ends of like, okay, how's this going to work with the event? And so it's nice. It's not at the like hours a day at this point, thank goodness.
Where where do you want to go with this? What's kind of your game plan?
I want to stay in Uvalde, like that's our roots. I never want to leave there, but I really want to expand to other states because right now we've only worked in Texas and Kansas. And I really want to get out there. I really want to start helping people around the country. But right now we don't have the means to do so, but I really want to. And of course, I want to grow the Uvalde side of it because I mean, they're my family, they're my heart, they're why we started it. So I never want to leave there, but I want to grow it there and then I want to grow it around the country.
What are the challenges for you at this point? You did mention, money is always, in underwriting, but I think well, let me ask it this way. Do you find that you have any unique challenges being a college student trying to have a nonprofit, run it, etc.?
Definitely like time management is difficult. I'm definitely getting nervous for this semester because I have 5 classes and one of which is biology and I'm terrified. But um, it's definitely because this was my first semester of college, the fall semester. So it was definitely a change because we had the toy drive event in November. So it was a lot of like, oh, wait, we can't just, because I was homeschooled my whole life. It's like, oh, I
Mm.
can just pick up and go to Uvalde. It's like, oh, I got to let all my professors know, hey, I'm leaving on this date. Can I make up this work? Like it was a lot different than what I was used to, but it's doable, which is really I'm really thankful for. I'm able to still make it happen, but it's definitely like challenges. It's mentally taxing for sure. Because we kind of my toy drive shows up like when all the bad stuff happens.
Mhm.
And I spend time with those families. And it's like you kind of get to know them. And it's like, how could this happen to them? So I would say that's definitely my biggest challenge out of everything. Like we went to Aaron and Dula's funeral, I think
Mhm.
last Tuesday or 2 Tuesdays ago. And we were waiting in line to meet his family. And the song "See You Again," it plays in the Fast and Furious movie. Um, and that's a song that plays at the end of a Uvalde documentary. So I've just kind
Mhm.
of always associated that with Uvalde. And we're waiting in line, and that song starts playing in the funeral home, and I just lost it. And it's just like, that's definitely the most challenging part is like, how do I keep myself sane enough to be able to keep doing this? But it's definitely a lot, but I take breaks when I need them. And it's just, I love doing it. So it's never that hard.
I want you to share some of the honors that you've received for the work you're doing. It might be a little hard, but I want everyone to know that you have been recognized for the work that you are doing.
I'm a Gold Award Girl Scout for my project. The wonderful 7 Days awarded me with the Ripple of Kindness Award, and I received the scholarship last year. And I've received the Buck O'Neill Legacy Seat with the Royals, which was incredible. I think that's all of them.
So far,
Yes.
so far, because you've been a lifelong Girl Scout, can you share a little bit about how that has helped you in doing this work? What were the kinds of things that you drew from being a
I'm,
veteran?
I'm not going to lie, my troop, I was in two different troops, one like my elementary years and then one for my high school years. My troops never really did that much, I'm not going to lie. We were the glamping type. So I definitely feel like I could have learned more, but that's just I didn't have the best troops. But one thing that like my favorite memory was I did 2 years of camp where it was called an owl. It's an older woman leader. So I had
Hmm.
my first year I was 12 and I had a group of 8 6 year olds. Then my second year I was like 15. I think it would have been after the toy drive. I had a group of 8 9 year olds. So the same age as my Uvalde kids. And I definitely think that that helped me kind of learn like how kids of that age kind of function and kind of the things that they like. So it's like I was able to kind of use their kind of like my experience with them kind of in Uvalde. How do you interact with them?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just kind of that. And I mean, if I wasn't in Girl Scouts, Sammy's Toy Drive probably wouldn't exist because I would have never had that connection. So I definitely
So a
think,
little plug for the Girl Scouts, right?
yes, buy your Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookies almost over. So
How do you decide beyond Uvalde um, who you're going to help? And then how do you start that process? As you said, with Uvalde in the beginning, it was kind of hard to even get to families.
um it's always the hardest decision because it's kind of like who do you help, who do you leave out?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can only do so much. So um with Casey in 24, obviously I had to do that because I mean, that's gun violence in our community. So I had to respond to that, which I'm so glad we did. We helped, I think it was Maddie and Malia. They're related to Lisa Lopez Galvin. So really sweet little girls. So I'm really glad that we were able to help there. Kerrville, we decided to help there because um, that was in Hill Country in Texas. And Camp Mystic is really what kind of got me to want to help. I mean, it was children, so we needed to step in and do something. So there we ended up helping a community resource. We donated to them. And then in Lewisburg this spring, there was an incident where a truck crashed through a building and it killed a man and injured his wife. And
Mm.
I was working 2 streets down from where it happened, so I automatically kind of had that connection to it. So we helped them, and that was an amazing toy drive. I'm still close with his family. And then with Aaron, I that night, it was on Christmas Eve, that the reports about it were really starting to come out. And I looked at my mom and I was like, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm not just going to like jump and start something without really thinking about it, which that's a first for me. And she looked at me, she goes, Sammy, I'm so proud of you. You know, you're stepping back and you're taking time to really think about if we can do it. And I was like, I know, Mom. But an hour later, I go on Facebook and I see KSHB 41 did a story, and Aaron's 2 little sisters were in the interviews. And I look at my mom and I go, yeah, we're doing it. And she was like, no, not yet. And I'm like, yeah. So immediately once I decide to start something, I reach out to my 4 news station connections. I've got KCTV 5, KNBC 9, Fox 4, and KSHB 41. So I go to all of them and I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want to do a story? And kind of like I gauge kind of their reaction. And that's kind of if I decide like, oh, are we going to stick with it, or is this just going to flop? Because I never want to reach out to a family and get their hopes up if it's not going to work. So immediately after that, like with Aaron, I was able to just post on a local Facebook group and be like, hey, does anybody know his family? I need to get wish lists from them. And I was connected immediately. Other situations where it's a bigger scale, it's a lot harder to
Mhm.
make connections, and that can take a lot more time. A lot of times then I end up going through like GoFundMe's, and I reach out to the person that's in charge of the GoFundMe. Um, but that's kind of easier when it's local. But out of
Mhm.
state, I just kind of call like local resources. I always go to libraries first, because they know.
Why is that?
Because that's what I did with Uvalde, because I worked for my local library. So I was immediately
Mhm.
like, oh, let's call the library. And that ended up being the best thing I could have done. So now I just kind of immediately call libraries to see what kind of resources they have to offer.
Money. Is this all being underwritten by you at this point?
We get donations, but a lot of them are more like local donations, I guess is what I'm going to call them. A lot of friends like in Uvalde have donated. We had a business in Uvalde donate this year, which was incredible. I felt really cool because they came to the event with one of those like huge fake checks. And like,
Oh, cool.
yeah, so I felt really cool. Like they got to take a picture. I'm like, wow, I feel like I just won the lottery. You know, my childhood dreams are coming true of holding a massive check. So that was pretty cool. Um, it's donations are hard. It's kind of like we get a lot of donations come in when we start a drive, but most of those go towards like directly to the drive that we're helping, unless like we reach like a cap. Because with Kerrville, we raised well over $1,000, and it's like we took some of that, put it to Uvalde. We move it where we need to, because the community resource didn't need that much in donations. They didn't know what to do with that much. So we just kind of like we move it how we need it. But donations are definitely tricky at the moment. But like this third annual event, it only happened pretty much because we had one of our good friends in Uvalde. She used to be a teacher in Uvalde. Now she lives in Austin, Texas. On May 24th, she came up to me and handed me a $500 check.
Oh, how nice.
She's incredible. So that's kind of the reason we were able to make this event happen. So now, because of the difficulties we have with fundraising in Uvalde, we're having to cut our big toy room. So we don't have enough for 300 or 400 kids to come through and pick out whatever they want. So like this year at our event, we're just going to have like a scavenger hunt and like different prize levels that they can pick from. So it's just going to be a lot smaller, but we're doing that because our main focus is supporting the survivors and the victims of the siblings, or the siblings.
Of course. Well, I want to tell everybody they should check out sammiestoydrive.com to find ways to help you to keep up with what you're doing. Sammy, you're doing such amazing work, and congratulations to you, quote unquote, despite your age. But I think it's such a motivation for so many of us. Just keep doing the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us in Casey Cares. We're Kansas City's nonprofit voice, produced by a nonprofit, Charitable Communications. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. Check out our website for guest opportunities at caseycaresonline.org, and we'll spread the love. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio, and on Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., you can catch us on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thanks for joining us on Casey Cares.